Welcome to the Jungle Fever podcast. I'm Ethan Sargent. He's Aiden Crowley. We're together. We're together. We're not on the screen in separate places in Indiana or in here in Ohio, which is where Mr. Crowley is at the moment. We are recording together today. So
The news is that big.
I was gonna say, is there anything happened yesterday? Like, did anything? I didn't hear anything. I didn't say anything. Did you?
I
Because
did.
heard something.
Yeah,
Wait. What'd you hear? I didn't hear anything.
for the first time in 60 years. Uh, that's insane. For the first time in 60 years of the Bengals being a franchise, they made an aggressive win now move.
Absolutely, they did.
And that's what it kind of comes down to, right? Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lawrence is a Cincinnati Bengal.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
I've been
insane.
saying that really it's been about 24 hours now. We were on a trip and now we're back from the trip. And pretty much all I was saying this whole trip, like these last 24 hours, was holy beep.
There you go.
Dexter Lawrence is a Bengal, right?
Mhm.
Like it doesn't really, I don't even think, I'm not sure if it will fully hit until week one or week two, really the home opener, when he runs out on that field, because they'll give him a nice special introduction and he hits that dance
Mhm.
as he comes out on the field. I mean, it's just we could talk about Dexter Lawrence, the player, a whole lot here over these last few weeks. We're gonna do a mock draft still, even though it's a little bit different than we planned for it to be last week. We're
Yeah.
still gonna do a mock draft as it is now draft week, but
Yeah, the compensation, it was just straight up Lawrence for pick 10.
mhm.
You think about, him and his current contract situation. He was unhappy. He wanted it tore up in New York. And it wasn't torn up. It really, all the Bengals did was add an extra year on.
Yeah.
The average annual value is around $28 million. He's well deserves it. So yeah, pick 10, not there anymore. I said this 2 weeks ago.
He did. We
That
went back and rewatched it. It's, I believe, this is going to be episode 49. Episode 47 of the Jungle Fever podcast. Aiden Crowley nailed it. It's in the like 25, 30-ish minute. We can
Yeah.
go, well, I'll see if I can go find it and clip it, but it is, you did nail it.
Uh,
I'll give
you,
you a little fist
Hey,
bump.
I
There you go.
appreciate it.
We're in person. We can do
Exactly.
that.
But you think about it, like, what are the odds that the player at pick 10 is better than Dexter Lawrence?
Slim, right? And you got to think off the bat too, right? This is the other, I think, important aspect to this trade. And you mentioned this when you said it's a win now kind of move. There are great players, like we've discussed throughout these last few weeks. This draft has plenty of high level defensive talent players. You think about Styles, you think about Downs, you think about Reese, you think about Bain, you think about Bailey, all of these great players. Two caveats. Number one, how good are some of these players going to be as rookies, right? Not, and that's not, don't take that as a slight to any of these players because I'm sure many of them are going to have very successful and phenomenal NFL careers. But the Bengals need guys that are ready to go. Shamar Stewart, for example, right? They need him to step up because it wasn't there as a rookie, right? That's caveat number one. Caveat number two, how many of those guys were realistically going to be there at pick number 10, right? There was a real chance that all of those names that I just mentioned were already off the board.
So, yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because there's so many different ways I think you can talk about this trade, both
Mhm.
on the field and off the field. But from my perspective, when you flashback a couple weeks ago when he did request the trade,
Yep.
it just made too much sense.
Hmm.
Like pick 10 in a normal draft is more valuable than pick 10 right now.
Yeah.
It just straight up this class, in terms of like those blue chip kind of A plus level talents, they aren't really there.
Hmm.
And so you feel like that combined with the fact that this is a spot where the Bengals can go and push and try and win. Combine that with the fact that this player that you are trading for fits everything that you need. It has
In
been
almost every capacity, really.
it has been since Geno Atkins, since the Bengals have had a player at this position. And you think about it too, the amount of capital that they have
Mm.
spent into this position in recent years, at a certain point,
Second and third round pick 2 years ago,
right,
Jackson and
right. And
Jenkins.
Sheldon Rankins, you threw
Rankins.
back
Yeah.
to. At a certain point, you can't keep putting band-aids over a bullet hole. Like you
Yeah.
just you gotta
You could
address
just put a
it.
shotgun through it, which is what they just did.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could talk all about the optics and the semantics. I think there's one statistic that just proves the kind of player that the Bengals have just acquired in terms of pressure rate when lined up at nose tackle. Dexter Lawrence leads the league over the last, I believe, 3 seasons with 108. The next best player is Vita Vea with 32.
Yep.
That just goes to show you the gap between number 97 and the field, right? And Dexter Lawrence, not just that, there are so many, I think, positives from a playing standpoint for what Dexter Lawrence is. We talked about it a little bit in that episode a couple weeks ago, but I mean, uh, two-time All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler. Last year was obviously probably one of his poorer seasons in the league, but there are again a couple caveats to that. Number one, he had an elbow injury, dealt with for the majority of last year, was in and out of the lineup for the Giants. Still had 38 pressures, right? Yes, he only had a half of a sack, but pressure is so important. And the Bengals, it's not just Dexter Lawrence along this D line. Boye Mafe has been paid handsomely to kind of step up his sack production. You've got, Miles Murphy, who, like we've talked about plenty, stepped up a lot late towards the end of last year. You've got Shamar Stewart, who's going to be eager and hungry for opportunity. So there will be opportunities. And you think about the double team rate. It's in the 60% of snaps. You better do it. Long story short, you better do it. And all of these things, I think, are just going to make this Bengals defensive line, I think, the best Bengals D line we've seen in probably a decade plus.
Yeah.
Even with yes, Trey Hendrickson was a great player and he's now gone. But I think when you talk about top to bottom, when you stick four guys, I didn't even mention the other two guys they've got on the interior in BJ Hill and Jonathan Allen. Both of those players are going to make big inroads on the inside as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because, there's questions now about what you do with TJ Slayton. He seems like he's probably on the outside looking in after a move like this.
Jenkins too. I think you can ask the question as well.
Right. And so then also I still think edge is a need for this team. Like their edge four is what, Shaka Hayward still,
Yeah,
right?
it's Hayward. It might be Cedric Johnson.
Cedric Johnson, excuse me. So like that's what we're working with. You want to add more bodies, and I think they will probably address that in the draft. But yeah, from the team perspective, I mean, you could go on for days and days. I'm more interested in just again the front office perspective because this isn't the Bengals.
Like
this is not the Bengals at all.
A dream? No,
like the biggest move of the NFL offseason by far was made by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Like if you would have told me that beforehand, there's no way I would have believed.
And this changes so much about the dynamic of this team in 2026, right? I mean, this is like they didn't just this wasn't just a flip and trade. They invested what you said like a 10th overall pick into this guy, extended him, so now he's on contract on the books for 3 years. Got him, by the way, at a very good and fair price for the level that his services provide. And
it's a bargain.
100%. And you got a player who, if from the interviews he did today, seems extremely motivated to prove potentially in New York, but I think around the league, a lot of people wrong. He's motivated. And you've got, again, I think some offensive lines in this division that I think are prime for the taking, so to speak.
Yeah, a deal like this doesn't get done without the front office and ownership.
I think you got
pressure.
A little cap tip to them, right?
No,
I think they've done very well here.
Again, you think about it, like 60 years of they've not doing this, but now they feel like they have to.
I think this is the second biggest trade in Bengals history behind them trading up for the first overall pick in 1995 or 6 for Kijana Carter.
No, absolutely.
Those 2 years. I think
absolutely
right behind that. But it is in that stratosphere
Yeah.
of like potentially franchise altering. Now, obviously, that one didn't work out too well. We'll hope that this one works out a little better, but you got the feeling when you've got a player like Dexter Lawrence, they traded up for that pick because Giannis Carter was a phenomenal prospect. Unfortunately, luck struck the wrong way. He tore his ACL in his first game. You can never control that. Dexter Lawrence is going to come in, and I think he's going to, instant game changer on this D-line, instant playmaker. And I also think, again, he just raises the floor of this D-line so much. Not just, again, like I said, not just because of what he does, but because of what the attention that he's going to draw from all of these guys around him. He will be the focal point of that center guard trio in the middle of that. Every single game the Bengals play, it doesn't matter if they're playing in the Super Bowl or if they're playing against the worst team in the league. That's going to be the focus.
No, absolutely. And you look at the last 4 teams in the NFL playoffs this past year in the AFC and NFC championship games, they were top all 1 through 4 in PFF grade for interior defensive pressure rate. It's more important than ever. I think
Absolutely.
teams are investing a little bit less in guards and centers, and so that play I think has slightly declined. And you see the impact that guys like John Franklin Myers has for a team and what that does. Joe Burrow has talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
He hates pressure up the middle. He
Dexter
absolutely.
Lawrence had a sack on Joe Burrow in that Giants game last year, 2024,
Mhm.
that the Bengals won on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and so and the Bengals again, they haven't had it since Geno, like a guy
Absolutely.
that literally can take over a game, and you have to know where he's at every single snap. Trey, obviously, incredible pass rusher, did his thing. The versatility that a guy like Dexter Lawrence provides in both the pass game and the run
No
game.
slouch in the run game
Um,
either.
I,
Absolutely not.
I think he's head and shoulders better. He was what according when they do those player rankings,
He was number 17
he was
last year.
top 20.
Yep.
One of them described him as a big blob of nightmare.
That
That's
was Jamal Williams.
yeah, yeah.
Shock, right?
So that's 340 pounds that you got to try and yeah. And so I say this all the time too. Ethan's typically a little bit more of the optimist of the group, which is fine. I mean that's what fandom's all about. I think I'm a little
Level it
pessimistic
back
at
down to
time
earth a little
a
bit.
little bit.
Last year, you were very right most of the time. So.
Assuming that, I mean, you can't account for injuries. As the roster currently is constructed today, it it looks like a roster that
This is the best roster they've had, I think, since 22. And I think it's pretty clear, right? That 22 team, in my opinion, this is a little side note. I think that 22 team was better than the 21 team that ended up going to the Super Bowl. I think the 22 team is more complete. They won 10 games in a row.
Mhm.
They were just, I mean, both sides of the ball were so complimentary, I think. And that's why that team was good. There's no reason this 26 iteration can't do that. And yes, they've gambled a lot, right? There's a lot of gambles and a lot of all-in pushes. But is that not what we've been asking for the last 3, 4 seasons? Is for them to put the chips in the middle of the table, right? For them
That's what
to
the NFL is nowadays.
absolutely
Think about the teams that are successful right now. Howie Roseman with the Eagles.
Chiefs,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
obviously, yeah, yeah, with Brett Veach, and then you have John Schneider with the
With
Seahawks.
Seattle, absolutely.
They're completely flipping that roster. The Rams are
It's the
extreme,
F the picks, right?
extreme
Yeah.
impressive, and it's winning. That's just the nature of the NFL over the past 5 years.
And Joe, I remember a couple years ago, Joe said the window was always open. And with I think there's a caveat to this. I've used that word a lot today, caveat. Um, with the window is always open theme, where yes, when you have a guy like Burrow, you should be winning a lot. But the caveat is you need a team around him. And the Bengals, I think these last couple of years, yes, the offense has been amazing. But as we've seen, really, in particular, these last 2 seasons, the defense has fallen behind, right? It's not there. Now, significant capital and dollars have been invested in this defense this offseason. When you think, again, Lawrence is obviously the crown jewel now, but you've got Boye Mafe, who is a very good player, was kind of buried in the depth chart in Seattle, gets a chance to start. Brian Cook, homecoming, Cincinnati kid. I have a feeling Brian Cook might be a day one captain, somebody that's going to come in and help set the tone on that defense. You got Jonathan Allen, just a veteran, a leader, multi-time Pro Bowler, another great player. Those are three floor-raising signings, and they all have potential. I think Mafe in particular here, but all three of them have the potential to just continue to get better. Obviously, Allen's a little bit older, so getting him quite back to his prime. If you get Washington Commanders, Jonathan Allen, holy moly, right? But like if you get even like the signs in like he was solid in Minnesota. He wasn't the Pro Bowl version of himself, but he was solid, right? And he's 32, I believe 33 years old. So again, can you imagine some of these pass rushing scenarios with some of these guys, right? Allen and
It,
Lawrence on the inside, Mafe, either some combination of Mafe, Murphy, and Stewart off the edge. You could get so creative. You could get BJ Hill involved. Like there hasn't been this kind of depth in a very, very long time. And they still will probably invest some more capital along
I
this
think
D
that
line.
I think they will. I think there's still work to be done, and it makes the game so much easier for guys like Barrett Carter and guys like Demetrius Knight.
Thousand
It
percent.
make it makes it so much
As
easier because and this is the kind of football nerd stuff, but when you have a guy like Dexter Lawrence, you don't need to commit as many resources to the
yeah.
run game. You can go lighter boxes.
You know how the Bengals trusted DJ Reader in the past with kind of
Right.
just swallowing up the A gap, right? And just making
Yeah.
sure that instead of a 7-yard gain, it's a 4-yard gain,
Right.
right? Dexter Lawrence will help with that. And I think it's just going to make that stiffer, a tougher test, right? And you've got some great running backs in this league, and Derrick Henry in Baltimore in particular, right? And, I think, again, it all kind of lines up. And again, I like those linebackers obviously struggled big time last year. I think they would both tell you the same thing. But Dexter Lawrence mentioned this fact specifically in his interview today, how it's going to help both of them out so much to not only have a guy that can get home a little bit quicker and it opens up the lanes for the other guys, but it also just makes their life so much less strenuous. They don't have to play for 15 seconds because there's nobody at the quarterback, right? So again, I think all those things are great, but obviously there's still some work to do on this defense. I do think they'll look at a linebacker. I do think they could still look at slot corner and edge. But I think all of those are in-depth positions. And then there is some stuff they could do offensively. So I think now this is a good time to portion, and we're going to switch over to the mock draft. So we're obviously going to stick with you here. We're going to pull up our mock draft here, but we're going to have to bear with this computer a little bit. It
Through the
struggles
ringer.
at times as my Microsoft Edge takes a
It's because
second.
you have 4 million tabs.
You know what? You're just going to have to allow it. Right? There really isn't a good reason for all these tabs to be open, but they and
It's not. That's why it's moving so slow. I'm not a genius or anything.
no, I understand. So let's pop this open here. Let's do this.
There you go. Nailed it.
And let's do that. Quick check 1, 2, and
Yep.
there we go.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. So
I believe in you. Oh no.
Oh,
It's
no.
going down.
we're okay. Come on. There it goes. It just took a second. We might lag a little bit there. It's okay. All right. So, well, I'm not sure if it's there. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
It took a second. So
This thing.
it's gonna go a little slow. We're gonna do all 7 rounds. I'm gonna be 100% honest. A lot of these later picks, it's gonna be more about positional need than it will be the players themselves. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of all these late round guys, but we're gonna do the consensus board. Where is it? Right here, because that kind of corroborates all of them. 7 rounds, and hey, guess what? We don't got to worry about pick 10 anymore.
No.
41. So Thursday night, Bengals fans, kick those feet up, take a nice beverage, watch what I think is a great spectacle in the first round. Right.
It'll be interesting for sure. It will be interesting. I think there'll be a lot of movement.
Yeah.
I think we'll see a lot of trades. But that new Rams logo is interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the all blue.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's the look. But
see if there's multiple quarterbacks.
yeah, I
See,
mean, the Browns have 2 picks in the first round, obviously.
yep.
The Steelers have a late one, so
Yep.
I still think
And
there's
the Ravens got their pick back. Initially, they weren't going to have one, and now they do after all that nonsense.
Mhm.
So here we go, pick
Hey,
41.
Ty Simpson just
We're
went.
going to obviously reject all
Oh,
trades.
hey, Baltimore.
Even though that's
Get off my line.
even though that's a terrible offer, I would
Baltimore.
take that.
Baltimore, get off my line.
Well, yeah,
Look who went
I'm
2
not
picks
picking up
before.
phone from them. Yes, Ty Simpson
Is now
gets
Cleveland
picked
Brown.
at pick 39 there. TJ Parker gets picked right there. I did see that another guy we've talked about a lot here, D'Angelo Pons and CJ Allen. Both of those guys I think the Bengals might have looked at. So here's our list of guys that we have right here. We got Cassius Howell, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. You've got Christian Miller, defensive tackle out of Georgia. You've got Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida. I think, we talked about a couple of these guys in our last episode when we did some of our big board rankings. And I think I just don't see them going D tackle with what they've got there at the moment, and not quite yet this year, especially with the kind of lack of quality in this draft at that position. A couple of good players, a good offensive guard in Emmanuel Pregnon, Gabe Jacas, the edge rusher out of Illinois, Gurmy Bernard, wide receiver out of Alabama. We didn't really touch on receivers much last week just because we kind of ran out of time, but receivers will be a potential position that the Bengals look at. I think in that 3 to 4 range. I don't think it'll be pick 41, but I think in the 3rd or 4th round they could attack that position. Lee Hunter's another guy we discussed.
I don't know.
I'll let you kind of.
I see it a little differently. I think day 2 will be defense.
No, I don't disagray.
I think 2nd and 3rd round. I think
so
both
take a pop here. You've got your pick here. I'll say what I've got a couple of thoughts, but I kind of want to hear where you're going first. So give us a thought here.
So I think for me, if this is how the board looks, I think the pick's pretty obvious.
I agree.
I think it and it's the position that they need bad. And I think it's just Jacob
Yep,
Rodriguez out of Texas
right
Tech.
there with you.
I don't think that kind of next tier of linebackers, those CJ Allens, the Jacob Rodriguez's, the Jack Goldes, like I don't think they survive till the next time that they pick again
Hmm.
in the third round, and I don't think you necessarily feel in love with the guys in that next tier.
I
Um,
love the Rodriguez pick here. I think
yeah,
you're getting great value.
I think so. I think edge still is a need, and I think that would probably be the
It'd be
next
fun, I think,
selection.
seeing like if if they did want to go Cassius Howell, pair him up with his former college teammate
Right.
Shamar Stewart.
But I think the pick's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think you take Jacob Rodriguez here. We talk about the instincts, right? Such a smart football
Mhm.
player. Again, if Allen is there, he'd be another one. I think I'd be all over. You can go ahead and click that. Um, but yeah, I think Rodriguez is a slam dunk pick there for the Bengals. I think that they're thrilled with how the board has fallen to them in that spot. So I think here with this third round pick, if so now you take linebacker, probably off the board entirely. I think once you
Yeah.
get one, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Looking at corner here, I
Corner.
think you're looking at edge depth, and then I think you're looking at receiver. I think in that order,
Mhm.
probably. Maybe edge, maybe a little head, depending on how you value things. So
Yep.
I think the Bengals may look for another tight end, maybe at some point in this draft. Get out of here, Atlanta.
Listen, and this is the thing
And
with
Jacksonville.
with a move like this, Dexter Lawrence move, like you have to concede something, right? And for them, it was Big Ten, so that you have to go into this draft understanding you're not going to be able to get everything that you need.
Yep.
So something has to suffer. If that something has to suffer, it's probably going to be on the offensive side, in my opinion.
So some interesting options here. You've got Mike Washington, very talented running back out of Arkansas. You've got Davison Igbinosun, who's a national champion at Ohio State. You've got another national champion right behind him in receiver Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. Derek Moore out of Michigan, very good edge rushers, dealt with some injuries, but very talented player. We talked about Grayson Halton out of Oklahoma in our last episode at defensive tackle. Malik Muhammad out of Texas. And then a few other players. You got Malachi Fields at Notre Dame, Kamari Ramsey at USC at the safety position, Kyle Lewis, linebacker from the University of Pittsburgh, and Jalen Kilgore, the safety out of South Carolina. So, there's a couple. Again, I've got a couple of guys. I don't have a quite consensus easy spot here, but
I'm just curious.
yeah, take a peek. Yeah, I think both of those guys I think would be in consideration here. Um, the thing about Igbinosun in this spot is I just don't know if I think the Bengals need more of that slot guy. I do not think Davison Igbinosun kind of fits that role. However, I do think Malik Muhammad could fit that role a little bit better. So I think between those, I think I'd go for Muhammad at that position, but at edge,
I got you.
I think I would take a very long look at Derek Moore here.
Yeah,
I think
a little old,
yes.
but I
You
mean,
can pop that scouting report open
man,
right
look
there.
at this.
Look at that. Hey, by the way, PFSN does a great job, and they don't put it behind a paywall. So a salute to them for that. But yeah, very good recruit. Was a premier. Had a 10 sack season at Michigan last year. He's got a little bit. I think the speed is there. He's only 260 pounds.
Right.
Right. I think that Moore would be a good pick here. I think I'd be between Moore and Muhammad. I would personally, I think, lean a little bit more towards Derek Moore. But again, the track record with Michigan men's been pretty solid for the Bengals as well. So I'd be okay with Derek Moore unless you've got a dissenting opinion.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I personally would probably lean corner in this situation, but
Okay.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that pick either way.
Yeah, it's interesting how Pons is kind of really soaring up these boards. Like
He tested really.
yeah, absolutely.
He
He tested
really,
very well.
really.
So now we're getting into day three, and like we've talked about, champions are built on day three. So the Bengals have a lot of picks on day three as well. They've got a fourth round pick, two sixth and two seventh round selections. So you really get, I think those last four, you got to nail them. Like you need guys that are contributing, whether it's, even on special teams, like they need that too. They lost Tyson Anderson. They need guys that are going to play consistently on special teams and make plays. Now I think the board is a lot more open here in this spot for the Bengals. I'm looking at two names in particular here. Wow. I would
Baltimore is on.
I would take that in a heartbeat.
I would not.
4 picks for one.
I would not be shocked if the Bengals, like in that third round, try to trade down
To try and recoup that fifth
yeah,
back. Yeah,
yeah,
because
and
no
try and get a
fifth
little
because the
bit back.
Flacco trade. Um, We already took one Michigan edge. Jason Barnum's a pretty good player too, but he's probably off the board in this situation. I think there's two very easy guys to look at here, and it kind of depends on which direction you want to go. I think Jacoby Lane is a perfect wide receiver 3 for this team. I think he fits in seamlessly to what they're trying to do. He can operate in the slot, kind of get the role that Jermaine Burton could have had, right? And take advantage that way. Then Chandler Rivers is also kind of what they're looking for on that opposite side at that slot corner position. So also, I think another guy that's worth mentioning here is Oscar Delp, the tight end out of Georgia. A guy that the thing about Oscar Delp is the best plays are really good. Like there's some plays where you're like, wait, is that number 4 or is that number 10? Right? Brock Bowers back in the day. And then there are some plays where it's like, what the heck is he doing? Right. The inconsistency really flashed on the tape for him, but there's a really good football player in there, I think. And obviously you've got Eric All coming back. How much do you trust in that knee and his, obviously he's been through so much with the injuries. How much do you trust him to stay healthy and stay fit? So, you can take a look out. Those are a few guys that I've got my eye on here, but where are you looking at in this kind of spot here with some good names on the board? I think they could also look at Zakee Waitley here out of Penn State as safety. I think the Bengals could look safety too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jacoby Lane is just like screaming at me. But again, it kind of I think the corner still is a need, and I don't know if they're going to address it in the off season, post draft free agency. I guess we'll see how the board falls for them. But right now, like it's Jalen Davis as like CB3,
and that's why. And again, I thought this is what I was thinking about. He's 5'9". He's kind of that
right.
smaller, undersized corner, but the Bengals have loved guys like that in this spot before. It doesn't, Mike Hilton is not that far. Who's picking him at 26, by the way? But
a Duke
and the draft has always got some surprises.
A Duke fan absolutely is.
Like I think Rivers would be a good player here. Again, I think any of these top 3 guys I'd be pretty happy with here. I'll let you pick.
That's
this
fine.
one.
Yeah, let's go.
You want to go Chandler Rivers out of Duke? There we go. Pick number 110. Bengals go defense. And there are I think they need a couple offensive players. Like I think I would not be surprised if they end up taking Lane if that ends up being a spot like that where he's available there. And I really wouldn't have much of an issue with it.
This entire offense is back. They didn't lose anything offensively.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it genuinely needs to be touched. Now in the next couple of years, yes, absolutely. But right now, as it sits, like you were trying to win right now,
all name team right there, Fizian's Prysock.
Nailed it. We should have waited and gotten him.
Gotten him.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
Did you see the other day Adam Schefter posted Nick Singleton?
Yeah,
it was Kijana Carter. Those pictures of Kijana Carter. It was like way back in the day, I suppose.
Whoopsies. How do you even look at that? And like that's like how you.
I'm gonna steer clear of Schefter slander, but would love to get involved in that. I think
you should have went to fast mode.
I tried putting it on fast mode. I don't know if it did.
Taylon Green just went off the board.
Taylon Green is a really intriguing prospect.
Because the Jets.
I think somebody's going to take a whiff on him in like the 5th or 6th round. So now we get to these last few picks here in the late rounds. And you've got a board here. We're now getting kind of to the point where I don't know all these guys. I know some of them from I know Daquan Wright. Very, that kind of interesting tight end. Honestly, Daquan Wright wouldn't be a bad pick here. I've got 3 guys here that I'm looking at. The Bengals have been all over Landon Robinson out of Navy. They've met with him like 5 or 6 different times. So that might just be the easy layup pick here because they've met with him a bazillion times. Clearly they like him. Daquan Wright, good football player, good instinctual tight end. And then Eric Rivers out of Georgia Tech.
I was just about to say.
You can make some fun plays for him. Like you can draw up some jet sweeps, some action shot plays. I think Rivers would be a really fun pick here too, because I think you're getting a dynamic playmaker with a lower draft selection that I think can make an impact. I think he would be able to make a difference in this team.
I had a Georgia Tech dynasty offline that I was doing, and he popped off for your boy his senior year. I saw that name and I was like, yeah, that's my
I'm okay with going Rivers here, especially when you think they've gone defense on these first four picks. When you look at a guy like Eric Rivers, we'll pull up the scouting report here real quick. I
Track
think
star.
again, track speed. In 2024, he had 62 catches. He was at FIU that season with the 1172. And then again, when you think about it, Georgia Tech ran the ball a whole lot with the quarterback and with the running back. And again, you still had 650 yards.
He's undersized for sure.
Undersized and he's a little older. He's at 24 years old. But again, right, the Bengals are looking for a guy that can make a couple big splash plays. I think Eric Rivers gives you that. So I'm okay with going
That's my guy.
with Eric Rivers there in that spot. Wide receiver out of Georgia Tech. And now with these, you've got
Le'Veon Moss.
Le'Veon Moss, pretty good running back out of Texas A&M. So now we get back here and Robinson. Do we just take the easy layup here?
I think so.
Just go Landon Robinson.
At some point, a swing tackle.
Yeah,
needs. I don't know it well enough at this.
Personally,
range.
I think these last two picks are swing tackle, tight end, safety. Some combination of those three. So Landon Robinson, they've loved him. They've talked to him umpteen times during the pre-draft process.
Cade Klubnik on the board.
He is. I think if we were talking about a month ago, I would have said, hey, the Bengals might look, but then obviously Flacco came back and they also brought in Josh Johnson. So I really don't think they don't really have much of a need at the quarterback
you can
spot.
Scroll LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He just went to Atlanta.
He did.
Interesting.
So now we're here at pick number 221 in round 7. You've got a lot of receivers. You've got John Michael Gillenborg. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about him.
John Michael. At a certain point, a swing tackle needs to come off the board. We probably waited.
We can look here at Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame. Let's take a peek at him. He's a redshirt senior. He is developmental prospect. He's a full-time right tackle starter in both of the last 2 years. Was a team captain, locker room leader with starting experience, character, and physical tools. Usually, I think it's the lateral issues. The stuff like that on the inside. I wouldn't hate this pick at all, especially when you play it you played against high level competition your career, right? And you played against some great teams and players at Notre Dame. I'm okay with that pick. And again, I don't know a ton about him. I know Riley Nowakowski out of Indiana, I don't think would be too far down this list either. Another solid tight end, kind of in that same vein that Daquan Wright was.
We waited too long. This is why we're not the GM. We waited too long for a swing tackle.
I'm gonna go.
Here we are.
Wow, out of Notre Dame. And then the Bengals right back here at 226. A lot of the same names still on the board. We can have a scroll here. Take a peek. Jam Miller. I love Jam Miller. Could go with a former Bobcat, Will Kazmarek, formerly of Ohio State, or formerly of Ohio. Then he went to Ohio State. I do think Will Kazmarek has a NFL future. I just think he's way too good of a blocker.
I was gonna say he gives me like Drew Sample.
Yeah, except we took Drew Sample in the second round.
Yeah.
So Kazmarek is there. You've got a couple other tight ends. You've got Cole Wisniewski, the safety out of Texas Tech.
Jay Knott.
It's just a bad move for him to transfer to Oklahoma. It just didn't work out. It was great at Cal, right? And it just did not work out on the other aspects. So yeah, I think I would go probably either safety or tight end here. I could go for Nowakowski here.
I want to know what George Gubbs got going on.
George Gubbs Jr. out of Florida.
What a last name.
It is a great last name.
Let's go, dude. What is it?
Sleeper edge prospect.
Okay,
good RAS. Oh wow, he's a tight end flipped to edge rusher.
What?
I've seen a couple of those.
This screams since
he was actually at Northern Illinois, so he was in the Mid America Conference. And then he had 3.5 sacks in his flip year, and then he went to Florida for a couple of years. 13 starts. A little bit of a developmental guy there. We could also take a look.
Did we already take an edge?
I
can't remember.
I think didn't we? Yeah, we took Derek Miller.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So I think that's why we go Nowakowski here.
Go for it.
Tight end out of Indiana, good measurables.
Player comps.
Josiah DeGuara. That's a good player comp right there. Fannin, you saw what he was able to do. Okay, he doesn't have a scouter.
We're in the thick of it.
Yeah. I'm still gonna take him. He was pretty solid.
That's
for
fine.
Indiana. He had some big plays for them down the stretch. So get him in, and then we'll kind of break down what we've got here, and then that'll pretty much wrap up this episode. I can't believe we've been doing this for about a year now.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close to the end. So, or at least not the end of the podcast, but like the end of the year. I
Mm-hmm.
suppose we've been around the thing.
Hey, Will Kessler.
Yeah, I do hope Will gets drafted. I think he's good enough to be drafted. And Mr. Irrelevant is going to be
All these late ones being like the Rams, the Ravens,
Yeah.
just from like
it is Alex Harkey, offensive
shout
guard out of Oregon. So here we go. We got a B plus from the computer generated grade. Obviously, no pick at pick 10. You might as well write that in as Dexter Lawrence right now.
pretty good pick.
Yeah, I would say great
Yeah.
pick. They nailed that one. Number 41, we have gone with Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. Number 72, the edge rusher for Michigan, Derek Moore. Number 110 is Chandler Rivers, the cornerback out of Duke. Number 189 is Eric Rivers. Two Rivers. I wonder if they're related. I didn't notice that.
I don't
We
think
got, yeah, Eric Rivers, the receiver out of Georgia Tech. 189. 199 is Landon Robinson, the defensive tackle out of Navy. 221 is Emil Wagner, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. And 226 is Riley Nowakowski, tight end out of Indiana. Aiden, what are your thoughts on this? How you feel about it? What would you kind of give this grade? Forget what the computer said. What would you kind of grade these 7 selections?
Pretty solid. I would probably go around a B, honestly. Like I said, I think the swing tackle position, I assume that the Bengals would address higher in the draft. Like I wouldn't be surprised if at 189 that maybe is the pick, or maybe even 110 in that fourth round. So I think weighted just a tiny bit. And then Rodriguez. I don't love fully, just because of the age
Yeah.
is a little bit of a concern
Mhm.
for me. But
I mean,
given,
they did it last year with Knight, right? They don't really have an issue with drafting.
and that worked out well.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
See,
that-
I will say
it-
this, and I've said this before, I have a little bit more faith in Knight than I do in Carter. The flashes, especially the last couple games of the season, I thought Knight really started to turn a quarter. Obviously, the level of competition was a little different. The Bengals were playing some pretty bad football teams.
Mhm.
But I think Knight, really Knight, I mean, Carter, there was a little bit, but I thought really with Knight, you really started to see some of the reasons why the Bengals invested a second round pick into him. And I think, again, with some better players around him, I think Demetrius Knight can be a little bit more successful. Now, Carter is a little bit different of a discussion. I think and hope he could also be successful, but I think there's a little bit more work that needs to be done for Barrett Carter. So again, I think here's another question with this. How likely is it, do you think, that all 3 of those first 3 selections are defensive players?
Pretty likely.
Pretty likely?
I would push a lot of chips to the table on something
Okay.
like that. I just still think that it's not there yet. And then again, given what we were just talking about, like this entire offense is coming back. Like there is not a thing that needs to be changed with that group. Right now, as it stands, Mike Gesicki can kind of play that wide receiver 3 role for you. Is that a long-term solution?
No.
No. But for the time being, and again, this is a year given what the Bengals just did and who they traded for. This is a year they want to go for it now. And so you need, I think, a couple more pieces on that defensive side of the ball that can do that. So I wouldn't be shocked if they go defense 3 in a row.
Yeah, I would not be shocked. We're gonna get this screen share off. We've got still a couple more thoughts, but we will get closer to wrap things up. Let's do a couple bold predictions for draft night. We could do some Bengals ones, some not Bengals ones. Start out with the Bengals. This is a fun one. Percent chance they trade back into the first round.
0.
0. Okay. I'm gonna put it at 2.
I
I don't think it's gonna happen, but there's a chance.
who would they even be coming up for?
That's a great question. Maybe like here's interesting. What if like a Emmanuel McNeil Ward is hovering at like a 28 and the Bengals look into trying to trade like 41 and then a couple of those late round picks to try and get Emmanuel McNeil Ward.
I just don't see it. I think they want to go the other way. I think they want to trade down.
Mm.
I think that's much more likely, in my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay. No, that's fair. We talked about defensive players. Where do you think the earliest place the Bengals take an offensive player is?
Well, I gotta stand on what I said, right? So that it would be what, the 5th round?
6th, 5th, or 6th round? Because they don't have a 5th.
Or yeah, 6th round,
Yeah.
6th round. So that's where I would go. I do truly think that there's a strong possibility they go defense, and then maybe offense.
Yeah.
but those first two,
I really do think I think so. That's day two, right? That's the second and third round pick. I think I think there's a pretty high percentage chance, like probably above 80, that both of those picks are on the defensive side of the football.
and
Unless there's a guy they just really love.
right, that so I think that that third round pick, if they do decide to go offense, it will be on a tackle. I think it will be on a tackle. So
Yeah. I can see that. Like I look at
because you got those runs happen.
yeah, like there's a couple of different ways that I think they could go, right? I think especially when you look at all the positions, I think a lot of it is depth more than anything, but like a lot of their positions, they are a little thin in
Mhm.
some of those spots. So I think looking along those lines could be interesting. Now, a little bit more general here as we get closer to wrapping this up. Um, over under, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Over under three trades on Thursday night.
As like
But everybody.
yeah, right. Um, I tend to lean. I want to say over. I do. I think Dallas is almost a given. I'm surprised something hasn't come out yet. Bro, they're gonna wait for their leverage or whatever. I think they got to come up, and then there's always Howie's gonna make some move. It's gonna be really good and annoying.
Well,
Um,
I think where's Philly? They're in the 20s, right? Something like that.
yeah, so somehow they're gonna get up to like pick two and take whoever they want. Not actually, but you get the idea. And then I can see a team kind of wanting to drop back.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of teams wanting to drop
That
back.
top, I think the top 10 is so interesting, right? And again, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but we can touch on it again, right? Like, I'm not sure if a lot of the guys we talked about would have been there for the Bengals at 10. Like, I think
That's what
like
Daniel
you're
Jeremiah was saying.
exactly. I think all your big edge rushers, I think like your Baines and your Baileys and Reese and all those guys, I think they would have been off the board. I think Downs is probably off the board at this point. I think Styles is off the board. Like, it's a defensive heavy draft early. So I think the Bengals with where they're at, probably made a good decision. And regardless of the player, I think the Bengals may have been looking to move around anyway, but they saw a chance to take a big swing. They took a big swing. So
All the stars were aligning.
it was.
It just made way
What do you
too
think? What do
much
you think
sense.
what Mike Brown's reaction was this morning when he woke up? Because that broke pretty late last night. When he woke up and saw that I lost. Where's my first? He went on the mock draft sim and he saw the Indiana first round pick. Where's my first? Duke. Where'd it go?
He greenlit that trade.
Yeah.
You don't do that without ownership approval.
Yeah.
You don't make a trade like that with pick 10
Mhm.
and with a contract extension on top of it without
Yep.
the high up saying yeah.
Where do Downs and Styles go?
Uh,
Like in terms of range, you don't have to give me an exact team.
I think they could go anywhere from 4 till 9. I think
You think
that's
they're both gone before that 10th pick?
I do.
It makes it so interesting for the Giants because they could do so many different things. I think, they've got a lot of holes to address. And I think it'll be interesting to kind of see the way they attack it. By the way, something else I didn't mention earlier about Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, he only had half a sack last year, which, again, the injuries and some other factors did that. Brian Burns had 16 and a half for the Giants last year.
Mhm.
Like, that doesn't happen without Dexter Lawrence. Like, and Brian Burns is a great player. It's nothing to do with that. It's just when you got a guy like that, good things
No,
happen.
absolutely.
I'm just about to wrap things up. I'm not sure if there's a time limit, but it's just one person. That's what I think we're getting pretty close to about where we're usually wrapping things up. But
Yeah.
first ever together episode. We'll be back to the video screens next week. We'll break down every pick. We'll have a fun episode next week. Breaking down some of the Bengals moves. We'll see what they do. In particular on Friday and Saturday. Hopefully we can just kick our feet up on Thursday and just enjoy the NFL draft without having to worry about the Bengals
Stress-free.
messing up a pick.
Exactly.
So, but that'll do it for this week's edition of the Jungle Fever Pod. For Craig Crowley, I've been Ethan Sargent saying so long. We will see you next week.